Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a post-match pint in association with Purity Ale. If you use the code #VillaView, you'll get 10% off everything Purity have to offer. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by Neil Dunworth. Also, I'm not wearing another team's hoodie. This is a fictional team, so it's okay. I'm allowed to wear it for the Villa View. Neil, as an Apple man as well, I'm sure you're pleased to see me in this hoodie, but how are you?
I'm good. I'm good, Dan. I'm not going to lie. I might if I yawn during this podcast. It's nothing to do with the engagement from what you're saying to me. I am still feeling the effects of yesterday's day and the beer. So I apologize in advance. My voice is probably an octave or two lower, and yeah, as I say, it was a shadow of my former self today.
It's always great when you say you're going to do a post-match show and you say to me, I had to rewatch the game because I don't really remember anything about the game yesterday, and I did watch the 90 minutes. So you've rewatched the game. Still happy, I assume. It's another great result for Villa, and honestly, the progress that we've made in such a short space of time under Unai
Mm.
Emery, given that he hasn't really changed the team, he hasn't been able to bring in loads of his own players. It's pretty much just a new left back. Other than that, it's the same players that we had at the start of the season. Our record under him is outstanding.
Absolutely. And you know what? You go back to the days of you go back to Steven Gerrard's time, and one of the biggest criticisms was that he hasn't made any people any better. And towards the end of Dean Smith's tenure as well, there was a small bit, and happy birthday, Dean Smith, as well. It was his
As
birthday.
you're about to criticise him.
No, no, no.
Uh,
I'm not. I think it was a case of that people were saying that, you know, the players we were bringing in, he didn't have enough chance to work with them, and they were kind of wondering were any of those players going to get any better under him. But we're seeing that under Unai Emery now, where players are beginning to get better. You just have to look at Douglas Luiz yesterday. He looked like he owned the field when he was out there. He looked really, really good. And we were seeing John McGinn look a very much a different player, and Ollie Watkins also it has looked a different player under Unai Emery than what we saw at the start of the season. So it just goes to show that good managers that can get through to people that are detail oriented in this league will get results. And I'm just delighted. You see that table where we're like third in the table with 26
Going into the
points.
tables, there was some controversy over that table that Stato posted from Moms. To be fair, both tables are correct, but I did take Moms's point on board that probably
I
we're
didn't even
probably
see
about
that.
four. We're probably fourth in all things considered since Emery came in. But either way, third, fourth. It's staggering progress. Oh, hello! It's staggering progress. Like I said, Adams obviously fell on his keyboard midway through the show. There, some early comments coming through now. Shane Mead agrees with you. Dougie the boss these days. It's hard to disagree with that. With no Kamara there as well, we knew that he needed to step up and dominate the midfield, and him and McGinn definitely did that yesterday. Lee Evans, can we talk about Ramsey's nitro button and jink into the box?
Yes.
Yes, we absolutely will talk about that at some point during the show. My good friend Chris Dolan texted me yesterday saying I'd love to dominate a game and take someone apart before the game started. And in fairness, I don't think it was that clear cut, but 3-0 at home. It was a comfy win in the end. And gaming and stuff says a 90-minute performance at home. David Starr says, I have absolutely no doubt that we would have drawn or lost that game 12 months ago. Great to dig in and get the result. I think he's right, because there was some elements to Bournemouth's game. I think the physicality and in transition, I do think they did cause us issues at times, but in general, I didn't think we were too flustered. They had some moments, but it's a great win. And to see out another game at home, feel like we've got a bit of momentum at home now, which we didn't have before. So home form and away form now, it's all starting to come together. It's all starting to stand up. And so many times at Villa Park, we've got that early goal and gone ahead, and it was yet again on Saturday.
Mm.
We do it again, an early goal from Douglas Luiz, and Villa go 1-0 up. Bailey was not brilliant again yesterday, quite quiet, but heavily involved in that first goal. And yes, and breaking news, Villa have gone 2-1 up in the FA Cup. Poor scheduling from us to schedule this whilst they're playing. Didn't legislate for extra time at all. But Rachel Daly has scored yet again, and Villa women are 2-1 up in the FA Cup quarterfinals against Manchester City. So yeah, another brilliant start. And nice to see Dougie and nice to see midfielders in general get on the score sheet yesterday.
Absolutely, because outside of Ollie Watkins, you're always going to need to have, even when Danny Ings was here, we were still kind of looking to see who's going to share the goals around, where the goals were going to come from. I still I'm still looking for defenders to score. I can't
Yeah,
remember
that is never going to happen. Our defenders are never going to score ever again now.
I think Tyrone Mings can feel a bit aggrieved to Emi Buendia's goal yesterday. I don't know, would that have gone across the goalkeeper and gone in off the opposite post, but we won't overanalyze that. But no, your point is that those the goals from midfield they're pivotal. They're really important because we just don't have another goal scorer outside of Ollie Watkins, and we know that Watkins, that he has gone on lean spells before. So to have somebody like Douglas Luiz really step up in the game, to have Jacob Ramsey could have had a hat trick yesterday. He really could have. I thought that he looked like a man who was back to his or a man who Unai's found some way to get him into the game, and I want to kind of discuss how our midfield kind of set up in a moment as well, if you don't mind. But those goals were pivotal. I think they were pivotal because all three goals did come from midfielders, albeit that Emery Martinez is essentially playing as a second striker now. That seems to be his best role, and I thought.
You mean Emery Buendia then now?
Who did I say? Emery Martinez.
Emery Martinez.
Well, Emery Martinez, yeah,
confused me, but yeah,
Emery
Emery Buendia,
Buendia
I presume you meant.
is playing as a second striker at the moment. So look, Unai Emery is getting, once again, as I say, he's getting the best out of these players that he has, and it's really exciting because 3-0 win against Bournemouth, as people had said previously, that's a game we probably would have been dour for the first half and be hoping that something would happen in the second half, and then if we conceded a goal, it would have looked very poor. We would have looked very poor going forward and probably not made many chances. But we made a ton of chances in this game, which was the big thing. And as I say, we got the just results or just rewards with a 3-0 victory.
Yeah, look, on the face of it, some people could turn around and say it's only Bournemouth, but they beat Liverpool last week. They run Arsenal, who are winning every week, very, very close the week before, losing 3-2 in the 8th minute of stoppage time. So they've been on decent form themselves, Bournemouth. And I actually think they did cause us problems yesterday. I said to you before we came on, I didn't feel massively comfortable at 1-0 because I think in transition, they were causing us problem. And any game when it's 1-0, you feel like the other team could score and anything can happen at 1-0. But the good thing was we got the second, we got the third, and we saw it out comfortably. But there was still moments in the game where I think we could have conceded, but we didn't, largely thanks to a great recovery from Tyrone Mings. And just in general, taking the sting out the game. Now, we were 1-0 up, but we just always seem to be in control of the football, which is not something you would say about Villa sides over the years. We knew when to slow the tempo down. As I say, at times Bournemouth did catch us on the break. Solanke must have done the same run 3 or 4 times and run off Konsa and been unlucky and got through on goal and not taking his chance on another day. Maybe a better striker. Villa do concede. But in general, I just think the steps that we've made are staggering because this is a team that were largely useless until Unai Emery came in. We looked like we hadn't had a day's coaching in our lives under Steven Gerrard. Now, every single game we've scored, every single game, you can see that something has been worked on in the week. And it sounds stupid, but this is unheard of at Villa, really. I don't remember ever really going to games and thinking, there's really good off-the-ball movement here. Players are always receiving the ball in space. And that's the thing that gets me about this Villa side. The way we do this little short, sharp passing, and then there's always someone in acres of space to pick the ball up and drive. I don't remember Villa players ever receiving the ball in as much space as they do under Unai Emery. And that isn't just at the weekend. That's in every game. I just think the tactical framework that we've got now, the players must have been drilled for hours and hours and hours because they're getting it. And I think they're starting to give the manager what he wants every week now.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think none more so than the likes of Matty Cash at right back, who's had 2 really good games in a row now. 3 probably, I'd say, really good games in a row. He's another guy that that he when Emery came in, he seemed like he was going to be pushed to the periphery. He'd come back then for the World Cup, didn't really get many minutes after that. And Ashley Young had cemented himself in that spot. And now Matty Cash has wrestled back that jersey as well. And when you talk about that, finding players in space, it's something that I commented on yesterday as well, and I mentioned it to the guys I was watching the game with. I said that's exactly what Villa are doing here. There was always an opportunity for someone to burst forward with that ball, whether it be a full back or whether it be somebody able to carry it from midfield. And I think for Douglas Luiz's goal, he picks up the ball and he goes to the left hand side and he plays I don't know, did he play a 1-2 or he played a ball anyway into inwards infield, but he's got the confidence and because of the way the whole play shifted over, Douglas Luiz follows and tracks the ball. He ends up in the box to put that ball in the back of the net, albeit it was he made that run after Ollie Watkins' cross or shot was blocked that fell to Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey does. So at the time I was screaming at the TV going, what the hell are you doing turning around and driving towards the end line? But he does the right thing because we score from it. And Douglas Luiz is standing on the edge of the 6-yard box. But where he picks up that ball, he's in his own defensive third on the left-hand side over near the sideline. And he ends up playing that first pass and then ends up getting on at the end of the move as well. And that's by design, giving players that freedom to do that is something that we haven't seen, and he looks like a player reborn, or he looked like a player reborn yesterday. And when we look at that midfield as well, Dan, you look at it, you look at their average positioning. Jacob Ramsey actually played further back, further back, should I say, than Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz actually played a small bit further forward, and we played 3 up top. We essentially had Bailey wide right. We had Watkins to the left of centre, and Emery Buendia played in the centre for the majority of that game based on the average position statistics. And the man behind the 3 of them was Douglas Luiz. So that's something different. It's not something we've seen. I think it was more so from the point of view that the Bournemouth tried to crowd that midfield. They really tried to crowd that midfield, but we were still able to find pockets. I'm not going to say at will, but we could find pockets when we needed to find them, and specifically in the first half. And then the last 10 minutes was a different story when we more or less did find them at will, and we peppered their goals quite a lot and got the just rewards for it. So you're dead right in what you say about that. The Unai Emery is scheming this team open in midfield, if you want to call it, for want of a better word, and it's beginning to take hold, and it's nice to watch.
I think you raised a valid point at the start. The improvement in the players. I think you probably could have had 5 or 6 man of the matches yesterday. If you looked around Twitter last night, people were calling different man of the matches. My personal preference was I thought Matty Cash had an unbelievable game, closely followed by Tyrone Mings. Sorry, but the Cash thing's interesting because he came out of the team. Could have quite easily sulked, not been happy about it. The guy's just been playing in a World Cup. He was Player of the Year last season. I don't think he adapted quickly to what Emery wanted. I've said before, I've seen Emery throwing his arms up in the air at Cash in home games. I don't think he was doing the things that Emery wanted. It may have taken him time, but he's gone out of the team, took stead of what was going on, come back into the team, and is now delivering what the manager wants because he must be, because he's getting picked every week. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be back in that team. I think that's a positive sign as well, that someone can come out of the team, not sulk, get back in and prove to the manager that he can give him what he wants. And that's what's happened with Matty Cash. And Moreno at left back yesterday, I thought, had his best game as well. I keep picking on Luca Dean, and I'm honestly not meaning to, but I just think Moreno offers so much more, especially at home. He's good technically. He's always in space on the left. He comes outside. He goes on the inside sometimes when needed. Someone said to me on Twitter as well, which is a completely valid point. He's got good delivery. He's just always involved in the game going forward, and he just gives us that outlet, gives us that different option. I think the fullbacks at the moment, as good as Ashley Young was, they both should stay in the team, I think, now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think they are. The team is beginning to settle down an awful lot now, specifically in those full-back positions. Alex Moreno has been a really good signing. I know, what did we dropping in? Was it 12, 15 million?
Which is nothing nowadays.
It isn't, but like eyebrows were raised at the time.
Well, we asked questions, but I remember talking to you and saying,
do we really need
if we're spending money, is this where we should be spending it? A left back? But he's a completely different type of player for than Luca Dean. Luca Dean was obviously bought to play a completely different style of football, if we even had a style under that manager. But Moreno is what Emery wants from a left back, and he's doing it, and he's starting to settle now, isn't he? There's some games I haven't noticed him as much. The last couple of home games in particular, I've really started to notice him being involved in the game. It was telling actually that he got 90 minutes yesterday because the fullback has been coming off, but he was having such a good game. I think Emery just wanted to leave him on the pitch.
Yeah. And that threat that he offers, he keeps people honest. And when you look at the average positioning maps again for the Bournemouth team, they filtered over to that side. They played they played their fullback close to their centre half over there, because and it spread out to 2 centre halves at that stage. because of that very threat. Because somebody was going to be coming down that wing. They didn't want to leave anybody exposed out there, so that if Alex Moreno did cut inside, he'd have a free run on a centre back, and then obviously with our central midfielders piling through, or Ollie Watkins up there as well, it would have caused a bit of difficulty. I think a lot of that, actually, when I think about it, was down to Watkins as well, because as I say, he did pull to the left an awful lot.
Made the pitch big, didn't we? We made the pitch big. That's what we did. That seemed to be a particular focus yesterday, making the pitch big and making use of that Villa Park pitch.
Yeah, and I think fair play to a lot of our strikers, because as you mentioned there, the movement as well was something that was really good yesterday. And we found ourselves getting into positions and getting into places, and there was diagonal runs, which I absolutely love, and Villa haven't done it enough. So it's I think there's a big round of applause need to be given. But the big thing is, I think our fullbacks are contributing to that, because as you mentioned there, we're spreading the play very well through them, and it's allowing our midfield to prosper a small bit more. Whereas, and I always go back to that. I can't remember who said it at the time, but it was in an article whereby they said that Luca Dean needs to be the last person to touch the ball before he crosses it in, and he's more like a stand and deliver type guy. Alex Moreno can start the attack from back far and bring people into the transition as he goes forward. We're seeing that now, when it is making us a less predictable outfit.
Yeah, I mean, even in the days when we were a good outfit under Martin O'Neill, I remember being sat in the whole end and kind of lamenting the off the ball movement. Didn't think that we were particularly brilliant, but I keep going back to it yesterday. I can't believe how much space players pick the ball up in, and it just shows how well drilled and how well coached they are. Because those little phases of play sometimes where it looks like we're going nowhere, we're playing slowly, we slow it down. Suddenly, we start to move the ball forward a couple of spaces. We bring the other team out, and players are picking up the ball in space. Whatever we are doing in training, it is working, because we had that mini 3-game run where we lost 3 in a row. Obviously, 2 of them were Arsenal and City. But other than that, we have been brilliant. And it's right now that Villa fans start to get excited. I think, Neil. I think we're turning in to a good outfit. If you give this manager a pre-season to get his methods across even further, and give him 2, 3, 4 of his own players to bring in as well, I'm really starting to feel positive now. If Villa don't get it right under Unai Emery, we will never, ever get it right as a football club, because he is a class act, and he is the real deal. Even the way he speaks after the game, everything he's saying, and sometimes there is that language barrier. You know, what he's saying, the way he's trying to motivate the fans almost as well at the moment, Unai Emery. Considering what he was so dour before he came in, he has been an absolute breath of fresh air.
I 100% agree. Yeah. Like he said some great, he says some great stuff. He says some thoughtful stuff in interviews afterwards. When he needs to say that the performance was poor, or when areas that he wasn't happy with, he's able to articulate it. As you say, there is a language barrier, but he's able to articulate it in a way that I kind of listen to him and I go, I can imagine he said exactly the same thing to the players inside the dressing room there a moment ago. Yeah, so he's a very, very good manager, and we're in a very good position at the moment. Obviously, we've got that 11 point buffer between ourselves and Crystal Palace. Palace sacking Patrick Vieira, I'm not sure what Palace expected, or who they expect to get in there, or whatever the case is. But that's not a podcast for today. But we're that 11-point buffer. We still can't get ahead of Chelsea, but we play them next.
We did very briefly. We flirted with being ahead of them for an hour or so, didn't we?
It was a beautiful thing to see. But we play them next week, so we'll either go ahead of them, or we'll drop 3 points behind them one way or another. But also then above them is Fulham. Fulham obviously went nuts today. I can imagine Mitrovic is going to get quite a few games, and he could possibly be out for a period of time now. So that's not going to happen.
Bakuna got a 6-game ban for kind of doing a similar thing to the linesman. Was it 6 games in the Championship?
I think
when he got sent off. So I think he's looking at potentially the rest of the season being written off, Mitrovic. So they're catchable. They're 9th at the moment. I would say they're catchable.
I think on the Mitrovic thing, I think it's much ado about nothing myself, but you can't do it if you know what I mean.
You can't do it.
It's the fact he's pointing at him and he continues to keep on roaring at him afterwards. You can't do that. But
it's also a blatant handball, by the way.
This is exactly.
Mind you, forget that. Forget Fulham. Forget that. But there are blatant handballs.
Yes.
We're very aggrieved not to have been able to give him the opportunity to go 2-0 up in the first half yesterday. Because some of the handballs I've seen given recently, I think about the Champions League, the Leipzig game away at Man City. One of ours is 1,000 times more of a handball than that. It's so clear. His hand's out. It's
Absolutely.
handball.
Absolutely. Oh, it was a definite handball. I've no idea what VAR and referee decided in that moment. I have zero idea. It is crazy. Once again, we need to almost dedicate a 5-minute VAR discussion in every one of these post matches. Last week we were talking about the penalties, and this week we're talking about we're talking about this handball. And it's just a handball. It just is. There's no two ways about it. It's a handball. It deflects off his hand. It goes over the bar. He stops a goal scoring opportunity. Whether the ball goes in the back of the net is irrelevant. The ball was on target. I have no idea.
It's 100% handball. Think of the one that we've had ones given. I think it was Fulham away where it's hit players' legs and then hit their hands. That is a penalty yesterday. And for all I'm saying, I felt Bournemouth was still in the game at 1-0 and still posing a threat. We should have been given the opportunity to go 2-0 up in the first half because that is a penalty. Where I sat in the Holt end, I can't really see the North Stand that well. So at the time, I didn't really think much of it. But then at half time, when I saw the footage, I couldn't believe it hadn't been given. It's such a clear penalty. It's almost as if they just decide, how should we do handball today? We'll be lenient today. We'll let a few things go. Whereas in another game, they might sit there and go, "Well, we're really going to go tough on handball today." It's like it changes game to game. Yeah. It's really, really, really strange. As I've said, I did think Bournemouth was still in the game. I wasn't sitting completely comfortably at 1-0, but then Jacob Ramsey popped up in the second half. Vintage JJ, I would say, back to the JJ of last season. I like him on the left-hand channel, cutting in. I think that's his best position. It was potentially his best position in Gerrard's terrible football system as well. A bit fortunate with the finish. Perhaps Neto should save it, but he was good, Ramsey, and it's good to see him getting the goals as well because he's a goal threat, Ramsey, and he's a threat driving with the ball. So it was nice to see that second goal go in. It was nice to see that it was Jacob Ramsey.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of conversations over the dinner table in the Ramsey household. Maybe he was getting a bit of a slagging from Aaron, who's been banging him in for Middlesbrough. And by the way, you're very welcome, Middlesbrough, if there's any Middlesbrough fans here.
They must love us.
They must absolutely. There's going to be a big Christmas card coming in the door of B6, I think, at the end of this year, because obviously Archer is banging him in as well. But Jacob Ramsey back on the score sheet. Somewhere that I thought this year he would kick on with goals, and it's nice to see him scoring. I think he could have had a hat trick in the game. That's not a criticism on him. It's more so I was happy to see he was getting on the end of things. He was making things happen around the box, and he got his goal, as you say. That jink was fantastic because he's somebody. If I'm not mistaken, he was named in the 21 squad.
He's in the 21s.
In the 21 squad as well.
Brothers in the 20s.
And his brothers in the 20s, exactly. So it's going to be an interesting one for him. He'll want to kick on for the end of the season because, as we all think, we are going to upgrade in those wide areas, I would imagine, and the striking department, I would imagine, over the summer. Jacob Ramsey wants to give Unai Emery something to think about and say, yeah, look, if you're going to go with this narrow midfield and I pop in with 2 or 3 goals between now and the end of the season, yeah, maybe you might rethink 60 million here and there and whoever you're going to sign for this left-hand side. Sign whoever you want for the right-hand side, but I'm making this place my own. And more power to the kid because, as I say, it's great to have one of our own players in the team. And I want every single Aston Villa player to outplay their ability, but ones that we bring through the academy more so because they have that extra bit of connection. So fair play to him.
Yeah, and then I felt Villa went on a real big stat padding exercise. I think we ended the game on 20 shots in the end. There was a period of the last 10 minutes where it just felt like we have constant corners. Bournemouth couldn't get out their own penalty area, I think, let alone their own half. Somehow Tyrone Mings hasn't scored. I think he'll look back on that and think, how have I not put that in the back of the net? And he'd have loved that as well against his old team in Bournemouth. Would have been interesting to see if he'd have celebrated or not. Konsa had one disallowed, which was probably the right decision, I would say. I think the ball was out. Yeah. And then we finish it off, putting a little bit of gloss on it with big Emi Buendia, who is actually really good in the air for his size. It's ridiculous. He gets on the end of Mings' flick on. And I said, that's a good win at home. 3-0. Another clean sheet. Emi Martinez. He picked up some kind of record, didn't he, Emi Martinez? Is he the quickest? I can't remember what it was. I read it earlier and I've completely forgotten. Terrible prep from me.
I read this too as well, but
neither of us remember, do we?
True haze. I can't remember what it is.
33. It took him 99 games to get to 33 clean sheets or something. I think that's one game before Bosnich or Fredo. Someone clever in the comments will let us know, and that'll pop up on the
Stato,
screen.
you've one job,
And
Stato.
he's not
Oh, look,
there. He's not.
He's not here. He's not here.
He's not there.
He's doing a watch along for the women's game. Actually, I was watching just
he
before
is.
I came in.
Yeah, he is.
Before I came in. So fair play to him and that. But yeah, look, it's a clean sheet. Unai Emery, you can see him. He talks about clean sheets almost as much as he talks about attacking prowess. And because he knows that when you're a team like Aston Villa that are in the middle of the table, clean sheets are worth their weight in gold because they always give you a chance. And that's my saying is, like, whenever we're doing the team sheet tantrums before games, whenever it comes to doing a prediction, my prediction is nearly always 1-0 because I feel we can genuinely go out and win games 1-0 now because we're beginning to look more and more solid in defence. We're beginning to look more structured in midfield. We are. I think our midfield now looks as structured as it can be with the players that we have, even given that we've lost Boubacar Kamara over the last couple of games.
You'd expect him to be back as well after the break.
This is it. Exactly. Yeah. And we haven't, it hasn't knocked the star off our midfield performance, and we've been talking about, and this isn't, once again, for anybody who might think I'm denigrating Boubacar Kamara and saying that he's expendable, I don't think he is. But what it's shown is that the system we have and the ability we have to be able to chop and change in midfield is great to see because we've taken him, who's arguably been our best midfielder, out of the equation for the last 2 games, and we've looked pretty okay in midfield. John McGinn, once again, I'm going to say it, John McGinn is our Swiss Army knife. You can literally play John McGinn anywhere across that midfield and you get the same amount of effort. You may not get the same brilliant performance as the person that he is replacing, but you'll get 1,000,000% effort. And you know what? They are worth their weight in gold, those players. So fair play to him for going back there because he's really he hasn't looked out of place since he went back into that 6th position. And I think it's worth mentioning that as well because he's been really, really commendable out there.
And it was interesting yesterday that he was the deeper of the two. It felt like Louise was the one who drove forward and McGinn kind of minded the house while everyone else ventured forward. At times, I knew there'd be someone in the comments, and it was Ben Davies is the one that's been flagged to me. Martinez has kept the most clean sheets, 34, after the first 100 games. Although I think it actually was his 99th game at the weekend. So Ad is saying if he gets 34 in the next, he'll break the record. And someone else has said, John Steele has said, Martinez has said he wants to beat Bosnich's record of 64 clean sheets. We have him until he beats that. Let's hope that is the case. Let's hope that is true. He looks happy at Martinez. Everyone looks happy at the moment. You look at the way Louise is tweeting after the game saying he loves this stadium, he loves this club. Just saying all this stuff is just brilliant because I can imagine no one was living the place and living the club back in September, October now.
No, and look, once again, players need direction. And when they're getting direction of somebody that they can buy into, and when they're seeing results from that direction, it's going to raise the boats, as they say. And Unai Emery deserves all that credit. He has come in and he's given people a different lease of life. He's given people a different viewpoint on the club. People are talking about the club. It's so funny. There are people still out there trying to justify.
I think we're going under the radar a little bit, Ida.
But this is the thing. This is it. There are people who are still trying to justify the fact that they say, "Oh, I don't know whether Unai Emery has really done a great job at Aston Villa," and I'm saying that is fine. Think about that all you want, but just look at that table and those points. And if you're okay with saying that that Unai Emery hasn't done a great job at Aston Villa, that's fine. Your opinion is 100% as valid as mine. But the facts of the matter is that we're the 3rd best team in the Premier League. /4th. I won't get into the battle.
Against Tablegate.
We're in the Champions League qualifying position since Unai Emery has come into the squad. And at the end of the day, whether you like his brand of football or not, it's not his fault that you haven't watched him manage teams before. And if he's getting results from it, then us as fans are going to always be on his side for that.
I think it's measured football at times, and sometimes you just try and take the sting out of the game, and the tempo can go a bit slow. But generally, I'm happy with winning football. But on the eye, I'm happy with how we're playing. I'm absolutely ecstatic with watching an Aston Villa team that you can tell is coached. You can tell what they've worked on in the training ground in midweek. Like I say, I'm getting excited now, and I'm quite an excitable guy anyway. When it comes to Villa, we've had many false dawns. I've got excited many times, but it does feel like Aston Villa and Unai Emery. They are a marriage made in heaven, and it does really seriously feel like we are trending in the right direction now. And we've had plenty of big summers in the last 3 or 4 years. I don't think this is a massive summer for us, but I think it could be a really, really important and effective summer for us once he starts getting his own bodies through the door as well. Give credit to his coaching staff as well. I can't claim to know much about them at all. I doubt I could even name more than one or two of them. They must be having a massive impact as well in what's going on. And people were getting at Austin McPhee earlier on in the season about how we were from set pieces. It's only fair for those people to praise him now as well, because even though we've only really got one player of serious size in Tyrone Mings, we're dealing with set pieces very, very, very well, and we're still pulling off some nicely worked ones in the attacking phase as well. I mean, I'm absolutely crying out for us to concede a set piece goal in the next game. Now I've pointed it out, but we do look well drilled in every aspect of the game, so it's only fair to compliment his coaching staff as well. And it's just honestly, Neil, I didn't feel 100% comfortable because we're 1-0 up, but in general, I just watch Villa. I'm just loving watching us, and that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's look. There's an identity, Dan. What you've basically said there to sum it up is there's an identity, and that's what we've been crying out for. And arguably, we haven't had it since probably even the John Gregory and Brian Little days. Even if you want to go back that far, I remember John Gregory playing 3 at the back and playing wing backs when it certainly wasn't fashionable in the Premier League, and he was getting great results at the time. Obviously, brought in Dion Dublin and we went on that brilliant run to start the season, and
then we had a photo and ruined it all.
And exactly, and as I say, like that was an identity to that team. Under Martin O'Neill, you mentioned there as well. There was an identity under Martin O'Neill as well, but I think it was very much more a case of he was much more of a man manager from that point of view. He was a bit more old school, I think, that we gave him credit for. But under Unai Emery, you can see the attention to detail, and that's what the identity of this team is: the attention to detail that he seems to bring to the party is fantastic. And we've had some managers there that have been pom-pom waivers, the likes of Tim Sherwood, and a couple of more of them that haven't been good coaches. And it's a breath of fresh air, as you say, to have a good coach come in and be able to elevate those players. Both from a confidence point of view and an actual end product point of view on the field. So brilliant stuff. Really good to see.
Scoring every game is phenomenal.
Yeah,
as well. We couldn't hit a barn door before Emery came in. Now we just look like we've got this attacking edge, and I'm just love it. Just love it now. Let's go. Let's finish it there. Hopefully the Villa women are still winning 2-1. I haven't had an update from producer Adam, so that game should be coming to an end now. So hopefully they'll have a semi-final to look forward to in the FA Cup. We're in the last minute. Producer Adam informs me.
6 minutes of added time, it says here, and there's 2 minutes gone. So
okay, here we go. Hopefully the semi-finals are calling. I wish we were still. If the men's team were still in the cup, that's the only thing. That's the only thing he's done, Emery, so far. The only thing we can taint is that we aren't still in any of the cups. But overall, absolutely excellent. Let's go, Neil. I think Greg and myself will be back tomorrow. I haven't actually spoke to him, so I should probably message him after the show. Should be back in the next couple of days with an 1874. We took a week off last week because our schedules wouldn't align, but we'll definitely do a show this week. And international break, annoyingly, not coming at the good. Although I say it's not come at a great, not my microphone. I've said it's not come at a great time for Villa. It used to be like, I can't believe we've won and now the international break's coming. Now it doesn't really concern you whether we win or not, because we just, the players are working.
I actually think it could be of benefit to us because of all the players that will be sticking around, and Chelsea will have their home squad completely and utterly decimated, with everybody going left, right and centre for international break. So, if we've just spoken about attention to detail, so this is Emery's chance. Give the players a couple of days off, come back, wait in the long grass, get our plan together, and go out and try and get something against Chelsea.
There's not too many goalies. I think Martinez and Buendia are in the Argentina squad, if I recall. Matty Cash. Not too many others on the way. Dougie should be somewhere near the Brazil squad at this point, shouldn't he? McGinn will obviously go away with Scotland, like he always does. But there's still a lot to work with. So let's go. I always do this. I'll say let's go, and then I'll find something else to talk about. But we are going now. Subscribe to the channel with your post notifications on. Have a good whatever's left of your Sunday as well. And as always, up the Villa.